May the 8th, 1886, Atlanta, Georgia.
A pharmacist carries a jug of brown syrup 200 yards down a dirt street. He is 55 years old. He is nearly broke. And he has no idea what he is holding. 25 gallons. That is all he will sell this year. 9 glasses a day. 140 years later, the world drinks 2.2 billion servings of it. Every single day.
Here's what gets me about this story. Coca-Cola wasn't built by one genius. It was built by a relay team. A pharmacist, a bookkeeper, a soda man, a wholesaler, a candy store owner, a machinist, a president, an ad man with a napkin, a chemical engineer. 9 people, 140 years. Take any one of them out, and the red can in your fridge does not exist. So let's start where he started, in the pharmacy.
John Stith Pemberton was an Atlanta pharmacist and a Civil War veteran. He was chasing a tonic, something to sell across a pharmacy counter. 2 ingredients gave the drink its name: the leaf of the coca plant and the nut of the cola tree. On the 8th of May, 1886, he carried it 200 yards down the road to Jacob's Pharmacy on the corner of Peachtree and Marietta. Behind the marble counter stood Willis Venable, the man who rented and ran the soda fountain. Venable mixed the syrup with carbonated water. 5 cents a glass.
9 glasses a day that first year.
And in the back office sat Frank Mason Robinson, Pemberton's bookkeeper and business partner. Robinson did 2 things that afternoon that matter more than almost anything else in this entire story of Coca-Cola. He chose the name 2 C's, he said, would look well in advertising. Then he wrote it out himself in Spencerian script. That handwriting has never been replaced. You saw it today, you'll see it tomorrow. Pemberton died in 1888. He never saw what happened next. The man who saw it was Asa Griggs Candler, an Atlanta wholesale druggist. Candler bought the rights, and by 1892, he owned the whole thing. Then he did something almost nobody had done. He gave it away. A small slip of paper that said, "This ticket entitles you to 1 glass of Coca-Cola, free." It became one of the first coupons in American history. Over the next 3 decades, the company handed out an estimated 8.5 million free drinks. Roughly 1 American in 9 had tasted it, for nothing. He put the script on calendars, clocks, trays, urns, fans. If it stood still, Candler branded it. In 1886, sales were $50. 9 years later, Candler could say it was drunk in every state in the Union.
But it was still a drink you had to travel to get.
That changed in Vicksburg, Mississippi, in a candy store run by Joseph Biedenharn. His country customers couldn't reach the fountain, so Biedenharn did the obvious thing nobody had done. He put it in a bottle and shipped it out to them. 5 years later, 2 lawyers from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Benjamin Franklin Thomas and Joseph Brown Whitehead, walked into Asa Candler's office. They asked for the right to bottle Coca-Cola across the entire United States. Candler thought bottling was a distraction. He sold them the rights for $1. It is probably the most valuable dollar ever spent. Because Thomas and Whitehead didn't build factories, they franchised. Local businessmen put up their own money, over 1,000 plants in 20 years. Success brought copies, Coca-Nola, Macoca-Co, Toca-Cola. So Harold Hirsch, the company's trademark lawyer, proposed something radical. Don't just protect the name, protect the shape. The brief went out to 8 glass makers. Make us a bottle a person can recognize in the dark.
In Terre Haute, Indiana, the Root Glass Company took the brief. Chapman Root owned it. Alexander Samuelson, a Swedish-born foreman, ran the floor. Samuelson sent 2 young men to the public library, Clyde Edwards, the auditor, and Earl R. Dean, a 25-year-old machinist. They went looking for a picture of the coca leaf and the cola nut. They found neither. What they found a few entries away was the cocoa pod, ribbed, swollen at the middle, nothing to do with the recipe at all. Dean sketched it. Then he worked through the night. He pulled the first bottles out of the mold hours before the furnace was shut down for cleaning. The patent was filed on the 16th of November, 1915.
The company offered Dean a choice: $500 in cash or a guaranteed job for the rest of his life. He chose the job.
The shape he drew has outlived nearly everything else in this story.
Quick pause. If you're into this kind of history, hit subscribe. Costs nothing, takes 2 seconds, and it's the reason we keep making these. Now, meet the man who took this bottle to war.
In 1923, Robert Winship Woodruff became president of the Coca-Cola Company. He shaped it for the next 60 years. His obsession was one sentence: Coca-Cola should always be within an arm's reach of desire.
He built the 6-bottle carton so you could carry it home.
He put coolers in shops. He chased the Olympics, 1,000 cases shipped to Amsterdam in 1928.
In 1931, he hired an illustrator named Haddon Sundblom to paint Santa Claus. Sundblom's Santa was not thin, not stern, not elf-sized. He was warm and human and rosy. Lou Prentice was a retired salesman. Sundblom painted him every year for 33 years, until he became Santa Claus. Then came the war. In 1941, Woodruff issued an order. Every man in uniform gets a bottle of Coca-Cola for 5 cents, wherever he is, whatever it cost the company. To deliver it, the company sent civilian engineers overseas, technical observers. The soldiers called them the Coca-Cola Colonels. They built 64 bottling plants behind the lines. Around 5 billion bottles reached servicemen. And when the war ended, the plants stayed. That is not a marketing campaign. That is how a drink became global. The 18th of January, 1971. Fog closes London's Heathrow Airport. A flight is diverted to Shannon, Ireland. On board is Bill Backer, creative director on the Coca-Cola account at the agency Meccan Erickson. The next morning, Backer walks into the airport coffee shop and sees the same furious strangers laughing together over bottles of Coke. He takes out a napkin and writes one line: "I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company." With music director Billy Davis and songwriters Roger Cook and Roger Greenaway, he turned it into a jingle. On radio, it flopped. Bottlers refused to buy airtime. So art director Harvey Gaber put it on a hill. The first shoot on the cliffs of Dover was washed out by 3 days of rain. They went back for more budget and reshot outside Rome, with a chorus assembled from embassies and schools across the city.
It aired in July 1971.
Coca-Cola received over 100,000 letters. The jingle became a hit record. In 1981, the company's new chief was Roberto Goizueta, a chemical engineer from Cuba. Back in 1960, he'd arrived from Cuba with 100 shares of stock. In April 1985, after 200,000 taste tests,
Goizueta and Company President Donald Cure changed the formula. And the public told them, at a rate of thousands of calls a day, exactly how it felt.
79 days later, the company brought the original formula back as Coca-Cola Classic.
Keogh stood up and said the simplest thing an executive has ever said. He said the company had not understood the depth of people's feelings.
Sales rose. The brand came out stronger because the world had just proved out loud that it did not belong to the company. It belonged to them.
That same year, a specially engineered can flew aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, the first soft drink in space. The written formula spent decades in a bank vault in Atlanta. In 2011, it was moved, under guard, to a purpose-built vault you can stand in front of. Today, it is led by Henrique Brown, who took over in March 2026. Its drinks reach over 200 countries and territories.
2.2 billion servings a day. And on the 8th of May, 2026, 140 years since Willis Venable poured the first glass.
Here's the part I can't get past. Pemberton sold 25 gallons and died broke. Robinson's handwriting ended up on 1 billion objects. Earl Dean turned down $500 and drew the most recognized shape on Earth. Not one of them knew. That's the thing about 140 years. Nobody in this story ever saw the ending. They just did their part and handed the jug forward. See you in the next one.